Like that was like the biggest like letdown for me. Like as a Star Wars fan, like I feel absolutely just like terrible right now. Like doesn't sit well, man. Like man, just got off work. Beautiful Tokyo. You know what's not beautiful? The Acolyte season finale. Hopefully it's a series finale, because damn, dude. I was kind of optimistic going into it. You know, I thought that the concept was kind of cool, what they were going to be doing before episode 1. Hey, episode 1, check it out. They fucked that shit up so bad, man. It was just an absolute mess. Check this shit out, it's hella beautiful though. Beautiful Tokyo. The first episode kind of just like set the tone for what the rest of the series is going to be like. I mean, you literally killed off Carrie-Anne Moss in like the first episode, you know? And that just kind of made me realize kind of what we might be getting into here. Since, you know, it's a big bait and switch, like you think it's going to be this big thing with her and all that, and then next thing you know, it's just like, nah, dude, like, you can get none of that, right? So, episode 3 happens. Whew, my God, there's so many memes out there. I mean, anyone that's watched it, we all know how we feel about that thing. Just like really goofy choices. Stone getting set on fire, like absolutely insane. Episode 5, as many people have said, and I agree as well, like, you know, probably the best lightsaber choreography that we've gotten in the Disney era. It was cool. I enjoyed the lightsaber fights, but everything in between, all the different stuff about that, it's just like, it doesn't stick. Like, I don't care about any of these characters. All the death that's happening, like, why do we care? But let's talk about the series finale. Hopefully it's a series finale, not a season finale, but like, you got Soul and everyone, like, you know, Soul's with May, they're on the ship and everything like that, and like, they're chatting. It's like, yeah, they're doing their thing. May breaks out with like, the pip droid or whatever, and like, stun guns them with the thing. They run around the ship. By the way, that Basil, whatever that freaking beaver dude's there, she gets in like an escape pod or like the little ship that breaks away from the main ship. And like, you know, they're standing right there and they look at each other and Soul's just like, Ray! It's like Finn with Rey, like, Rey! And like in that time, like, dude, Soul's supposed to be like a super powerful, like, you know, like a super powerful like Jedi. But like instead, like, he just sits there and like he could have force pulled her out of there, but like he didn't do anything like that. It's crazy, dude. Instead sits there wasting time screaming her name, and it's just like, come on, man, like, what are we doing? Like, this is so stupid. Train's here. Check it out, Ninja Boo, holy shit. Anyway, it's like my everyday. Man, I can't believe Plagueis made his first on-screen appearance in The Acolyte. Like, what an absolute just spit in the face of everyone that, like, read the Darth Plagueis novel or listened to it on the audiobook like I did. Absolute banger. Like, that is like the true canon that kind of leads into everything that happened, you know, maybe starting from when the Acolyte takes place into like Palpatine era through into episode 1, but like the fact that they showed him like cave dwelling, like peeking around with his like long ass like fingers, looking at like ocean. Come here, like Gollum looks like at the ring. Like, that's crazy to me, dude. That's absolutely crazy to me. Like, we could have gotten like a whole entire show just about him. Like that could have just like carried the weight, and everyone would have been behind it. And assuming that Leslie Headland doesn't direct it, but like, or writes it or whatever the hell. Like, that was like the biggest like letdown for me. Like, as a Star Wars fan, like I feel absolutely just like terrible right now. Like, doesn't sit well, man. Like, and I've been pretty optimistic about everything too. It really hurts my soul to see like this happen to like an IP and a product that I love so much, and the lore and everything that kind of like goes into it. And I don't know. Everyone says that the haters are like toxic or whatever. Dude, like, it's a terrible fucking show. Like, what else are we supposed to say? Like, what else do you want, you know? May and Soul, they crash onto the planet where everything took place. The scene of the incident where trauma that Soul has from what happened when, you know, he killed May and Osha's mother, which is basically like, of course he did, because she straight up looked like a frickin' smoke demon, you know? Not even to mention like the whole entire like episode 7, the episode before this one, where they show the lead up of, you know, actually what happened, what transpired. And to talk about that, like the fact that like Kelnaka just didn't yeet Torben like across the fucking sky, like just blows my mind. There's no way that Torben was able to, in that moment, block and overpower a goddamn Wookiee. That's insane. Mind you that, you know, we were really excited to see Kelnaka like in action, to see a really Wookiee Jedi. Like the closest that we've gotten to that is like Choji, I think his name is. I forget what his name is. Like Bunji. Anyway, the guy from Clone Wars, and then you see him again in Bad Batch, which is I think it was Bad Batch, yeah, which is really cool. I like him, by the way. And then he dies off screen. Like that's insane, man. That's just completely wild to me. You get this fight between the stranger Kamir and Soul again, and you know it was okay. The fight was okay. Like I still think that episode 5 was just absolutely insane. But then like it seemed like they even nerfed Kamir in that like scene, because like he took on all these Jedi, but he couldn't like 1v1 Soul, which was kind of wild to me. Soul bests Kamir in that situation. I thought Plagueis was going to roll up, which I'm glad he didn't, because seeing him in that cave straight Golem style was enough for me. I'm so sad that he's in there. Like if it was Tenebrous, like if Tenebrous showed up, I think like I would have felt a little bit different about it. And if Tenebrous like had like a small role, or even something similar to that, like Tenebrous is Kamir's master, like that would have been okay. But even then, I still don't really like the fact that they're playing with these, you know, loved and established characters. Again, referencing the Darth Plagueis novel. Osha shows up. She gets like Soul's lightsaber, which is like batted away. And, you know, she starts force choking him eventually until he dies. And then like in that moment, you know, like she bleeds the crystal. I think people have probably already talked about this before. I didn't read the Vader comic, but I have seen like Vader had to put all of his energy to try to like bleed his crystal. And of course, this whole crystal bleeding thing is like, you know, Disney era stuff anyway. Didn't really exist since Sith and the dark side users all used synthetic kyber crystals for their lightsabers, versus the Jedi who would go and, you know, get their own, and like it was like a big rite of passage for younglings to finally find their kyber crystal. The fact that she was able to bleed it in that moment, because she's channeling her anger, and like she's just like, oh, I guess she knows how to do force choke. I guess that's the thing. And then Soul dies, but then, you know, like Soul like let her kill him. When she ignited the lightsaber, the visuals were cool, like kind of red, and it was like kind of teeter-tottering. Is it going to stay blue? Is the crystal fully bled? But like, yeah, eventually it turns red. You know, in the Vader comic, it was like a whole ritual. Like he had to use every bit of his concentration and like dig into the deep hate that he had in order to actually bleed the crystal that he possessed. And then for her to just do that on a whim in that moment, like, you know, some may say, oh, she was super angry at that time. She was channeling her hate and her anger. Like, yeah, she was, but like, I don't know. They frickin' nerfed that aspect as well of the lore that was created. And then the ending of the show, like, I don't even want to talk about the senator, like this whole senator thing, like nobody cares. I don't care about it. Like, he knows about all this crap that happened. Like, I'm sincerely upset just like thinking about all this shit. And then you've got like the Kamir and the Osha like love thing that's happening. Like she's going to stick with him and do all this kind of stuff. Like that's just wild to me, man. And then it ends. And I really hope that there isn't a second season. And then they show Yoda for no reason. Homegirl, whatever her name is, with the lightsaber whip, where you saw it like once. If you saw the trailers for the Acolyte before it came out, that's basically the extent of that. And like this whole entire show was just like Jedis not Jediing, like using their lightsabers as flashlights. The Jedi are the bad people. And then like Homegirl like completely sells out her friend, Soul, makes him the fall guy for all of this, and like he was a bad man. He did all this kind of stuff, and like this is the narrative that we're going with, and like it is what it is, and like that's just, it's so poor. The writing is just too poor, man. So now this is like a secret. I think it's interesting that like the Jedi in this show, in order to move along the plot, sometimes they can sense things, sometimes they can't. Like they're so disconnected from the Force, it's absolutely insane to me. This show was, yeah, and then Yoda. We don't even need to talk about Yoda. Homegirl lies to Yoda. That's it. That's all you need to know. But it's implied that she lies because obviously the Sith have not been seen for millennia. Look, I'm a very optimistic Star Wars fan, and I have been a very optimistic Star Wars fan. The Last Jedi really broke my heart, but I still kept trudging on. I enjoyed The Force Awakens. Like, that was fun. And, then the missed opportunity, not putting Luke, Han, and Leia all together in one scene was just unfortunate. But seeing Luke's character getting bastardized in that, I still kept going because I love Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker, at the time I was about it because it was completely retconning the previous movie, but even then, like, it was just so sloppy. Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, absolute bangers. Cried my eyes out on, like, the season finale of Season 2. Even for IG-11, dude, I was like, I didn't cry for IG-11, but I was like, yeah, like, this is badass. Like, you get to see, like, a assassin droid in action, in live action. And then, the Book of Boba Fett, like, it was okay. Like, it was fun. It had cool concepts, but there's a lot of stuff, like the Vespa gang, all that stuff was stupid. Jabba rule with fear, I intend to rule with respect. Like, you got Boba Fett from, like, Season 2, and then you get this Boba Fett, which is, like, kind of like everyone's calling him Beta Fett, like, kind of nerfed down. But that show still had some cool stuff in it, like that train, I think Episode 2 with the train, like, that was really, really awesome. And then, like, the 2 episodes with Luke and Grogu and stuff like that, like, like, that was basically like a Mandalorian thing. And then you get the introduction of Cad Bane. I hope Homeboy is not dead. You get the introduction of Cad Bane in there, and, like, I love Cad Bane. He's, like, one of my favorite characters. And then, like, the duel between him and Boba was just meh. Like, the whole season finale for that was just meh. I still enjoyed it. I still pressed on and, like, whatever, Andor comes out, and, like, Andor was good. It wasn't the Star Wars show that I was hoping for, and I think Season 2 is probably going to have a lot more interesting and hopefully action sequences that go with it. The cinematography in that, the writing, like, it's great. It's just there wasn't enough, I mean, maybe I sound childish here or whatever, but, like, there wasn't enough action going on in that show. But what it was cool. It was fun. Like, I think, like, when they do the big heist and everything, like, that is probably one of the most beautiful scenes that I've ever seen in Star Wars up until that point, of, like, them flying with all, like, little, I forgot, it was like the spatial anomaly with, like, these comets or meteors or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, like, the whole scene with the TIE fighters chasing him, like, that was awesome. The whole entire prison arc was amazing. The whole thing with Andy Serkis and his performance and everything in that arc was really awesome. The season finale was okay, there was some cool action, but, like, like, at least it was cool. One of the greatest monologues in, like, not just Star Wars, but, like, I forget the character's name, but when he's talking to Homeboy in the elevator shaft or whatever, sacrifices that I've made, why I fight for the rebellion, why I do what I do, why you have to make those hard choices. Like, that whole entire monologue is just, like, top tier writing. It was great. Looking back on, after watching Acolyte and seeing this, like, damn, I kind of want to rewatch Andor, and at least, on the writing table, it's better. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out, and that show was a letdown. I think my expectations were too high for that. Like, the last 2 episodes were cool. Like, the whole thing with, like, the Scooby-Doo and the Scooby's-Doo stuff, getting Leia out of there when they were on the, Inquisitorius or whatever the place is called, like, that was just kind of ridiculous. And then, like, the whole confrontation with, like, Vader, and some of the choices that they made in that show was, like, really weak, but I still watched it. I was still entertained. I was still enjoying it. I mean, the fight between Kenobi and Vader was amazing. Like, just seeing Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, who I've met both of them. I'll tell that story another time. That fight scene was great. Seeing them in anything is awesome. And, like, I have become what you've made me. Like, that line, just like, whew, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing, but man, that just hits so heavy, But even with that letdown, it's just like, still pushing on. Mandalorian Season 3 comes around, like, It had its moments, but like it ended really poorly, and like kind of just like throwing away the Darksaber and like destroying the Darksaber. Like I think that was like my biggest loss. I think that was the thing I was most sad about, was the fact that the Darksaber was destroyed, and like the history and what it meant to like the Mandalorian people, and just to have it like destroyed in that moment was insane. At least it's implied that at the end of that season that we're getting like a Mandalorian reset, so that can kind of give us a little bit of a hope for what's to come, the Mando movie, or whatever's going on, or the overarching thing. And then Ahsoka comes out. I loved Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka was great. There's some Sabine choices that I didn't really like. Some Ezra stuff that was like meh. For the most part, like that felt like Star Wars. Like that, the Ahsoka show was great. I loved it. It was basically like a continuation of Rebels, and I loved Rebels too. So that was just kind of a, you know, nice, and it was awesome. Baylan Skoll, Shin Hati, like dude, all the characters are good. Thrawn, I didn't think really had a chance to like do his thing, and and I think kind of where that ends with him showing up to Dathomir on after he gets out of the wherever they were located at, like that's going to prove to be something really interesting and fun. Not to mention Bad Batch. I loved all of Bad Batch. When it was kind of like focused on like the overarching story, it was good. Like the one-offs are fun, but you're still getting like that character, the character building. You're kind of understanding the psyche, and like the losses are greater in that. And the end of Bad Batch, like I cried. Like it was just phenomenal how they ended that show, and that little scene with older Omega and Hunter just like remind me of like when your children grow up and everything. And I have a daughter, so when she grows up, how that makes me feel, and just like that was really fun. I love Bad Batch. It was great. Good job. And then the next thing to look forward to is the Acolyte, and this is kind of where we're at. And then we get this kind of show that was like completely anticipated and hoped for, and something that everyone was looking forward to, and it was just absolutely squandered. The writing was terrible. They made really bad choices. They had a concept there that was really interesting, but it just flopped super hard. And like to the point where like I finally am saying, like after all of the shows that I've watched, all the support that I have, and I still support Star Wars because I still believe that there's some really great stuff that's going to come out of Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Like, there's things on the horizon that are like going to be fun and interesting, I hope, and can kind of reinstate like the faith that the Star Wars fans need in, and honestly, this moment of crisis. Where did that $180 million budget go? What was I watching? Can you animate lightsabers so they don't look dim? You can call me toxic, you can call me like a hater or whatever. And, at the end of the day, it's kind of crazy how, for the majority of what I understand, the Star Wars community and the Star Wars fans are united in the worst way possible. The fact that they kind of hate or dislike, hate's kind of strong, dislike this show. And like, even for me, like, I just don't, I can't accept, as far as like canon goes, I can't accept this as canon. I can't accept Plagueis being Gollum in a cave. I can't accept these things are going to lead into a story that I love with the prequels. Whatever Mando's leading towards the sequels, that's fine. It's whatever. Like, we're still living in this in-between period, which is great, But the fact that you're kind of like meddling, which could have been like really great history and awesomeness, like kind of leaving us with like a big plate of shit, something's got to give. I love Star Wars. I am a huge Star Wars fan. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be making a video like this. Yeah, get your shit together, Lucasfilm. Like, this is just, it's unacceptable, man. I really hope that they hear the fans on this and they really try to make some changes. And I understand that the show has been in production for a long time before, but we really need a win right now. And Star Wars fans really need a win. So let's hope for the best. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you. May the Force be with you. Peace.
Mm-hmm.